We are live. We're on stream. We're on screen. We're here.
Hey, hey everyone, this is Luck, and yet again, I am powering on.
This is our second book club of Olympus stream. Here we're here to talk about the Sea of Monsters.
Obligatory look at the first stream. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe.
Or look at the first edited video that is on my channel, Lily Polydora, on YouTube. Because I worked really hard to edit it down to make us like 99.9% more entertaining.
And I got a new mic.
Oh yeah, well yeah, that's maybe the one reason to not watch it. The audio of it is, I did my best. I did my best to fix it, to mess around with it and such. Why aren't my notes loading on OneNote? Why is OneNote consistently the most worthless app on the planet? I swear. I guess I could just use my phone. It's also on my phone. But
Well, then perhaps I can at least, while you pull those up, I can at least introduce us to what today's topic is.
yeah, how about you give us a summary?
I will make sure to give an actual summary because I think we're well past the point of spoilers. Like I was so concerned about the first stream.
Yay!
This time we are going into the Sea of Monsters by, as Lily likes to say, Uncle Rick. But yes, this book seems to be more or less a retelling of the Odyssey, but from the point of view of our new characters. It's following Percy, son of Poseidon, Annabeth, I almost said son, no, she's daughter of Athena, having to go on a quest to get the Golden Fleece from Polyphemus, the very same one from Epic. Thank you, Jorge.
Oh yeah, this was a great one to read, considering we basically started this whole Percy Jackson journey because we had like listened to Epic, really enjoyed it, and wanted something new. So I wanted to like revisit this, dragged you into it on pain of death. So
keep your friends close and your enemies closer.
we are going to remember to keep those lines under 5 seconds so YouTube doesn't crucify me. But
we both know my singing is too bad to be caught up by bots, but allow me to finish the summary. But yes, they have to take the Golden Fleece from Polyphemus, and in order to do that, they have to go through the Sea of Monsters, where they encounter multiple different trials and, as we will discuss later, a third party who is just the best. He is the best.
He's the best. He's our sweet little baby boy. We will be discussing him extensively because he's kind of the most important part of this book in a lot of ways. But like, for the sake of those jumping in here, I feel like it is prudent to also give a little recap of what's going on, what happened in the last book, and how that is going to continue to affect this one. Because what you missed was the specifically why they're going after the Golden Fleece. The Golden Fleece is a special little artifact in Greek mythology that has incredible healing properties, like nature, like the healing of nature itself type properties. And the Camp Half-Blood, a camp that all of the demigods go to in order to avoid painful death at the hands of monsters that roam out in the real world, is protected by a tree, Thalia's tree. Thalia being a daughter of Zeus that died before the events of the first book. And the tree, due to mysterious reasons that are revealed somewhere in here in this book, has been poisoned. Luke has been poisoned, and as a result of that, the whole camp is being threatened. So they need to go on a quest to find this Golden Fleece, and that is what sets them upon this. With, like, of course, this is Percy Jackson's, with 50 billion different little hitches in the road as we go forward.
As we learn, no journey is smooth sailing.
But of course, again, more reason to watch the last stream. We will not be too heavily discussing the main characters, really, Annabeth and Percy. We discussed a lot about their characters and their setup for their characters in the last one. We're going to assume that you are as caught up as we are at this point as far as where their characters are at, and will not be rediscussing or rehashing any of that setup. You know, we know Percy is an audacious little guy. We know Annabeth has 50,000 hangups. about her mom, and we know that they have a little like clearly um telegraphed baby romance that still needs a lot of time to develop because well they're still babies. I don't even think they know about crushes quite yet. They're getting
And
there.
going back to our difference from last time, we are abandoning the chapter format. We're actually going to be going a bit broader in topic.
Mm-hmm. The in general, I will actually also mention the notes that I took this time. I on purpose took slightly worse notes, and by that I mean I would less I less relied on making entire paragraphs for notes and instead put little things that if I do my job well will inspire me to go off and have more full conversations. But
For
we'll
me,
see.
I'm going to be honest. I just kind of have a loose list of bullet points and like one paragraph that I really want to talk about.
I also, if you noticed in the edit that I did, I ended up doing a lot of pull quotes for that edit, and so I have this time set aside a lot of pull quotes for within my notes as well, just to hopefully just make things easier on me later down the line. But aside from that, oh yeah, I was gonna mention so next week a stream that will depending on how funny it is I might do an edit of it, but I'm gonna be honest at this point I'm not like just because of my schedule currently not planning on doing it. If I do it, it'll be like probably not out until like May that edit. But next week we're going to be doing a stream all about the movies, the movie adaptations as well as the series. So just going through all of the adaptations all at once, and we did in fact watch the movie for Percy Jackson,
I
the
can't
Lightning
believe
Thief
Lily gave it
yesterday.
a 10 out of 10.
Don't even fucking try. we okay. We watched it. We have thoughts on it. We're not going to go over those thoughts right now, but I do have to admit that it is in the back of my mind, as well as the fact that I am now realizing that the Lightning Thief is the story that I'm the most familiar with, maybe due to having watched adaptations of it several times, as well as just having read it several
Likely the
times.
series.
Sea of Monsters, I realized I did not I didn't remember, like I had memories of this that were confused because of the Sea of Monsters movie. And I then remembered that I hadn't actually read this book since I read it for the very first time when I was like 11. This isn't like Lightning Thief where I kind of revisited it periodically. I'm very lazy, so I always stopped after that. But this is the first time I've had to sit down and reread this book. I'm pretty sure when I did, it was with that original cover that you can see on the stream layout over there. It was that old ass
That
cover.
that is true because I actually was noticing that I have an alternative cover where we have the CSS Birmingham being overlooked by I think that's supposed to be Scylla as well as Polyphemus.
Yeah. Now the original cover I think is just Polyphemus with the Queen
You
Anne's
killed
Revenge in the
my
background, I believe. Yeah, that's a sailing ship. So this should be the Queen Anne's Revenge. Which again a lot of I will for the sake of getting into it, I'm gonna start looking at my notes here. Hopefully everything's set up here and we can kind of get into a flow here, a flow state. If you are ready.
I am ready. Would you
Okay.
like to take the first whirl of things?
Sure. So okay, I was almost at the first chapter. I'm like, no, we're not doing that anymore. The book starts off the first section, let's say. So we have a reestablishment of Percy's life, of how it is going right now. He's in like some like hippie special ed school. It's all very funny and and kind of cringe, and we meet probably the most important character for this book around this time, and that is Tyson. He's only mentioned,
Ahoy!
I think, in the first chapter. He's given a proper introduction by the time we get to the second chapter. So how about you describe how Tyson was upon introduction? Just like what were the vibes when we first saw him before we knew anything about him?
I'm going to be honest. I'm going to use the most polite language I can. He seemed like a very stupid, gentle giant.
It's definitely the vibe. I will
Yeah.
also mention, and this is also another reason why he's the most important character in this book in a lot of ways, because he is kind of the linchpin for the main message of this book, I guess, and that is that he is a very clear metaphor for a special needs kid. For I'm struggling to find the exact term. He is definitely
Here,
a
allow
special,
me
yeah.
to elaborate a little. I had said stupid in jest. Really, it looks like he is more. n- Slow is too harsh of a term in my personal
a,
opinion,
a big
but
dumb friendly guy is the idea, but one that
he
is,
struggles
yeah.
to interpret social cues, is very naive, and is very loyal to those who has earned his trust, Percy, and seemingly would be willing to put himself in harm's way for that person. All of this seems to be general coding for, well, potentially, I don't want to assume Reardon's main intention,
It
but
was
it definitely
intentional.
could be in. Okay, I was about to say it could be interpreted as someone on the spectrum.
I wouldn't, I'm gonna go for, I mean, yeah, perhaps someone with like a more profound autism, perhaps otherwise mentally disabled child. Where he's somewhere in that ballpark. It's hard to place it exactly because it's maybe because again it's metaphor, it's not literal. But yeah, definitely something along those lines. um and that becomes a quite the linchpin for this, for these early parts especially, because so when Percy's talking about him in the first part of the book, when we see their interaction, when we see Percy with his new school, you get the sense that Percy is like really nice to him, right? That he really tries to defend him, that he's doing what I think I mentioned more later on, but like really all I need to know for now is just that Percy is nice to him, defends him, but is maybe not perfect with the way that he treats or thinks about him in this first section, especially. We'll get into that
Yeah,
more once we get into the camp, but definitely like there's certainly some vibes at least that I got off of at this first part where I was like,
yeah.
okay, this is again, I'll describe the archetype later, but there was definitely some off vibes at first.
To give a little bit of my input as well, despite being characterized as a nice, kind person, Percy kind of thought I almost said Polyphemus now. Tyson was a bit of a bother because I think mentally, keep in mind, Percy's like, what, 13 at this point,
Yeah.
right? Angsty preteen. Pretty sure Percy had seen him as one of the reasons why he wasn't as popular in this new school.
I
And, oh, go on.
no, I realize I have a quote for it, but continue.
And he easily could have just avoided him, because I remember one of the bully kids had said like, oh, if you stopped hanging around him, maybe you would have some friends too, Percy, something like that. But Percy, despite all those hangups, he still is nice, he's still kind, despite having some reservations in some specific scenes where I do know a general idea I want to bring up later. He still goes out of his way to put himself in the line of things for this person he perceives as unfairly being treated.
And the term I was trying to think of was actually like well-meaning allyship, and we will get more into that as again we get further on. But the quote that I found that relates to this is, "I balled my fists. I hope my face wasn't as red as it felt. He's not a freak. He's just." I tried to think of the right thing to say, but Sloane wasn't listening. He and his big ugly friends were too busy laughing. And it's like, yeah, okay, there's the hint of it. He's trying his best. Percy is trying his best, but this is also the portion where the Laestrygonians attack. Which fun fact, they are in the Odyssey. They are not in Epic the Musical, which I did have to like double check because I also have not read the Odyssey in a very very long time, so I did
Oh, I
not
only
remember
read that
everything.
like once 4 years ago or something.
Yeah, I'm for me way longer. It's been more like I was gonna say 10 years, but it's more like 15. um, so So they're no epic mention this time, but so yeah, the Laestrygonians attack. They are rescued by Annabeth, who has been hiding using her little Yankees cap. And she has immediate disgust and anger towards Tyson, like profound anger and disgust. Before we even really know what's up with him, she clearly
Almost
hates
as if
him.
she has personal hangups.
And we also meet, we meet the Grey sisters. We have a really just like I wanted to compliment this book for having a very chaotic, energetic opening to it, because I feel like that's the appropriate thing to do, right? So you have the first book. It has a very like slow paced, slow burn opening. It takes almost a halfway through the book to actually get to the quest. Before that, it's really just a lot of like getting into Percy's mental state, a lot of build up and a lot of establishment of lore. This book knows that you know what's going on at this point, and so they just begin immediately with like chaos, jokes, injecting the character development right into your veins.
In fact, it was barely in chapter 2 where they actually had shown off monsters being very aggressive. Whereas I think last time it was like at least no, they did the Fury thing. I can't quite say that for certainty, but they still tried to keep an air of mystery around it.
They did. The Fury fight was relatively short, I want to say too. Which also fun fact, the fact that well, not fun fact, but just the fact that Tyson manages to withstand like a fire blast and Percy doesn't like think about that too hard. It's really funny.
Percy, Percy clearly doesn't know how other humans should be durable level
He
because he
doesn't.
hung out. Go on.
He does not, but I feel like we're really the older Percy gets, the more himbo traits he starts picking up, and like Percy's
It's
kind of
not his
stupid.
fault. He's never had friends, and when he did, his frame of reference are demigods and a satyr.
Mm-hmm. Which the only other interesting thing that happens is the Grey sisters give them some coordinates, some nautical coordinates, which I'm not familiar with at all.
I
But
actually had tried looking those up. I think I did something wrong because it got me to the coast of Africa.
oh, let me. Well, now I want to check it. The I have them
While
written
you do
down.
that, may I deviate from what seems to be going arc by arc
Yeah,
so I
sure.
can skip. Okay, so I am actually skipping ahead to chapter 6, where we are already well established into the camp, and people, Percy specifically, have found out, like, Tyson is indeed a Cyclops, and Poseidon has claimed him as his. And here is a quote. He's not my real brother, I protested whenever Tyson wasn't around. He's more like a half-brother, on the monstrous side of the family. Like a half-brother twice removed or something. Nobody bought it. I admit, I was angry at my dad. I felt like being a son was now a joke.
Mm.
Which that kind of does tie back to the point where I was making earlier of he kind of seemed to be reluctantly nice in a way, despite actively going out of his way to be kind, which is kind of an interesting dichotomy of someone feeling like this is actively hampering me, but I'm still going to be nice to this person because it's the right thing to do, which seems to be a running trend with Percy, where he might have reservations about some things, but at the end of the day, he does try to be kind. Except to Gabe. Screw Gabe.
He does, and well, again, I'm gonna try. Okay, I'm you've confused me a bit here, but I'm gonna skip ahead a bit and then I'll go back to what I want to say about Tantalus later because I think he's cool. And I pulled a giant quote from him that's great. Um, but uh, but okay, what was I'm here now trying to find the quote that I had. Okay, yeah. The main thing that I wanted to say before was that so yeah, Tyson, he's a Cyclops, he's a monster. Explains a lot of things, explains the fire resistance, it explains why Annabeth is so cagey towards him, and that fact is revealed relatively early on because again, it is very important to the development of the series as we go forward.
Pretty sure it's like within chapter 3.
Him being revealed as a Cyclops, I think that happens around chapter 4, and then he's
Okay.
claimed, I want to say in like chapter 6, like right when you said that. And that kind of brought the one point that I was holding back before, which is that the which is that the test of, like, you have the well-meaning allies, right? A lot of people can profess, like, allyship, can profess progressive values, or even just like kindness towards people with disabilities, queer people, whatever. But the test is always when one of them turns out to be a family member of yours. That's always the real test. That's always when, like, that's always when underlying bigotry or underlying biases start to come out. And this is definitely when you notice that Percy, like, has some biases maybe to get past a bit, and has some things he needs to work on with himself. And it's not bad. He's very young, he's clearly well-meaning. This is a great time for him to learn those things, obviously, but it was interesting, I thought. And I think that does really contribute to why so many people find this to be a really, like, great metaphor, because it's really applicable in, like, cases like this. Now, if you allow me to, I will step back a bit.
Oh, you're stepping back a bit.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back just one chapter, um
Perfectly fine.
to Tantalus, because I think he's cool. I think he's a cool little, like, minor antagonist, honestly. I
Uh,
Tantalus fan cam real quick. He's a very fun minor antagonist, just being brought in because Chiron is accused of poisoning the tree. Now, of course, we the viewers know he didn't do it. Like, obviously he didn't. Obviously Luke did it. It's not even a question. And yes, that does, like, spoiler alert, that is what turns out to be the case. Like, Luke did it, obviously. But because of that, he's booted from the camp temporarily. Has to go. It seems like the one time Percy calls him, he's like partying with the centaurs at, like,
I mean,
a
he
gay
says
bar.
that was his. I mean, he said that was his family, so I imagine it was more of a, oh, I kind of don't have my own place because I've been gone from home for so long being at the camp. So let me just go back with my family, which are all party animals, quite literally.
Oh, also, I forgot to do let me just make sure the category. There we go. Change the stream category. But yeah, but I mean, mostly it just seemed, when he called Percy, I just got the vibe of, like, hey Percy, can you, like, not bother me right now? I'm kind of like in the middle of something. I know that wasn't what I was supposed to take from it, but, like, that's in my heart what I felt.
I think we've sidetracked from Tantalus a little, as you were saying.
We have, but yeah, Tantalus is introduced, which is so I've seen a meme I saw a meme somewhere, or like a post somewhere, where someone was describing where they said something like Percy Jackson. The essence of it was that they said that Percy Jackson went from a series that everyone viewed as a poor Harry Potter knockoff to a series that everyone views as being actively better than Harry Potter and the better alternative. I agree with that, but I must admit that, especially in these early books, the comparisons are really easy to make. Tantalus is one of those examples.
For a brief moment, I thought you were about to say Tantalus is Severus Snape coded.
Not literally. I was more gonna say that he seems like the, like, flavor of the weak Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher that has to be, like, a little bit villainous for the sake of adding a bit of spice and a bit of mystery in here and there. Though they don't even go that far. Tantalus, I started suspecting that Tantalus was involved with the main plot. He's not. He's just there to be evil.
Yeah, that kind of surprises me, because I kind of thought he was going to be brought up in a later book or something, saying like, oh no, I'm definitely on the bad guy's side. Considering he has a lot more motive than probably many of the demigods.
He just seems
half-bloods.
He just seems like hungry, because that's like his whole curse. His whole curse is that he can't eat. If he eats, like, whatever food he tries to go to goes out of his reach. He's the guy at the who's punished in Tartarus with the fruit tree, where the fruit goes out of reach every time he tries to go for it, and the river that he can drink from recedes every time he tries to get a drink. So he's in eternal starvation and thirst. And why? Well, I have the quote for why? Not right this second. That's not until chapter 7. But I'm still kind of trying to go into order. Um,
I
but
like how you had said, let's try to avoid the chapter format,
well,
yet here we are.
I'm trying not to. Well, why I didn't like the chapter format was that I didn't like how super segmented it was. Was the thing. I
Ah,
didn't like how segmented it was, and I wanted freedom to be able to go back and forth a little bit while still keeping up a chronology for the sake of making it easy to follow, pretty much. So
gotcha,
so
gotcha.
I yeah, that's also why you skipping ahead tripped me up a little bit. I was like, wait, I have to go ahead and mind these are still done chronologically. I have to go ahead.
Oh,
I'm
sorry about that. I'll be a little more careful of that.
yeah. Mostly I just don't feel like we have to take like mostly I noticed in the last one that like if there's a chapter where we didn't have much to say, then we should be able to just skip ahead if there's not a plot point that we should be trying to go through. But yeah. Um so oh yeah, just I've another note about Polyphemus, a Odyssey mentioned. Every time there was an Odyssey or an epic reference, I tried to write it down, an epic reference.
I like how
Um,
you say epic references instead of Odyssey references.
oh yeah, I put a note something like Percy talking to horses is like the light inverse of Parseltongue and Harry Potter, where Harry talks to snakes. And I think the second book is also where they reveal that in there, but they revealed in the first one
What do you
here,
mean?
but
Percy already talked to snakes.
no,
They meant RTM.
true. Um, but
Oh, and also your boy.
yeah. Tyson. Oh yeah, the horses are all scared of Tyson because he's a monster still, and so Tyson like kind of can't catch a break. You feel real bad for Tyson. He's clearly in like 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 he because of the manner of his birth he's clearly been like left all alone in the world, clearly is a very sensitive soul, and he has now also been transplanted to a place that is not necessarily for him, not really designed for him, and therefore feels even more alone, and it's mostly just kind of sad. It kind of it really starts to introduce this idea that I might be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure is developed in the series at some point. But that like are monsters because they're born that way, or is it because of some other condition that's thrust upon them in life? Is it because of cases like Tyson's where they're just kind of left alone and have to fend for themselves, and that maybe that doesn't create very kind people?
That is a good question. Because I myself was also thinking about that of, as they established in the first book, monsters don't die, they kind of reconstitute. However, clearly Cyclopses are being birthed, which kind of means, doesn't that mean they could literally have their own society where they're just not really monsters?
They could, but the way especially Polyphemus talks in later chapters seems like their culture actively tries to prevent that.
True, but I would also like to add an asterisk onto that where we do have Cyclopses in a pseudo type of society, specifically with the Forges.
They do, yeah, and
It,
it's one of those things where it's like, well, but I mean, then again, that's just more servitude to the gods. Is it possible for them to be able to break away from that? It's kind of why I'm interested in seeing how, and you'll get to see it too, how the series handles Medusa, because
mm,
it's a lot softer towards her, and I wonder if that is an effort to set up some of the conflicts going on with Tyson in the second version, because I presume I know they're continuing, so definitely Tyson's going to be probably the main like centerpiece in that, the same way that he is here. So it could have been a clever little shift there to try and get us thinking about that.
yeah.
um
And speaking about Tyson and things, Percy kind of begrudgingly went with him for the chariot races, didn't he?
he did, and he was very kind of. I did make a note here where it's like it said that poor Tyson is just glad his brother is at least a little nice to him, because that is the vibe you get from this, right? That like Percy is because Percy sees Tyson as slow, he maybe didn't think too hard about how his behavior and how the kind of like tiptoeing he was doing around Tyson might have affected him, or how that he would have picked up on that. But Tyson does pick up on it like really quickly, actually, and so it's actually very, very sad when you realize that Tyson knows full well that Percy is. He says angry at him. A better phrase would be embarrassed by him. That's the phrase that's the way that Percy puts it, so it's the way I'm inclined to call it. um and yeah, it's pretty sad to see.
It is. It kind of just gives the feeling of a little brother who is told, "Yeah, I'm kind of embarrassed of you, but mom says I have to play nice."
Yeah, except again with the layer of this metaphor that like makes it hit home a little bit, makes it, and again, I'm glad that the
And
mm,
Tyson, feels like he is split between multiple worlds, just like Percy, and yet Percy isn't exactly the most understanding of that until later.
mm,
Because Percy, as we know, is split between human and god, and Tyson is split between, well, monster and other. He doesn't quite seem to fit monster fully, but yet we can't ignore the fact he is a monster. He, like Percy, is in betwixt of different identities.
mm-hmm. And well, I I just had a thought in my brain. It's trying to escape me. Can I grab onto it before it leaves entirely? Oh yeah, just the fact that Tyson is not necessarily, to add to this metaphor being really well handled. I like that Tyson is not necessarily a like perfect person in this. Do you know what I'm getting at when I try and say that instinctually, or should I try and elaborate?
I personally get, well, at least I think I get what you're trying to imply, but because this is an audio type of format, probably best to elaborate regardless.
Yeah, definitely. So there's a thing that happens in a lot of movies and a lot of media where you have a character who is mentally disabled or autistic or something, and they are portrayed by the narrative as being like perfect little people, too good for this world, too pure. Everyone else just needs to understand them, like almost Jesus like in the way that they are presented. um
Off the good doctor.
well, that one is I have different reasons I've met. There's another one I'm thinking of, but I can't
I'm gonna
remember the
be
name of
honest, I've
it.
actually never seen it,
The Good
but I
Doctor's
know I've
the Good Doctor's not a great example of that. There's other ones that I can that I'm
gotcha. I
yeah.
don't remember the show, but I do remember seeing a show where it basically was like that.
There you'll come across a couple examples here and there. Again, if I remember one, I'm sure I will show a clip of it in the edited version of this right now. But they sidestep that with Tyson. You see the ways in which Tyson is like the ways in which he is immature, in which he causes trouble for others sometimes, the ways in which, like the fact that he doesn't really know how to handle animals well, I think is an interesting one. It's just like a little like character flaw that like he acts like a little kid with animals, where he doesn't really understand boundaries, doesn't understand proper handling, and because he's like a super strong 6'2" toddler, basically no one can really tell him otherwise. um and it sidesteps that while still firmly placing the onus on Percy to improve his view and his outlook. So I'm glad that it does both. It does the bare minimum, like the bars in hell, the bars in Hades and Tartarus, literally. but but the fact that it does that makes this better than like 99% of genuine portrayals of a character having a disabled family member, than like a lot of other things.
You know what they say, you're not making a crap, how did it go? You're not making someone with that thing, you're making a character, something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Which again, Tyson does manage to be a complete character with, with likes, hopes, dreams, an inner world that is robust.
Mhm.
It all works pretty well. But speaking of that, my next note is reminding me that we forgot to actually mention the other little inciting incident here, which is that Grover's on his quest, right? We forgot to mention that
How did
Grover.
I forget to bring that up?
I did
Yes.
too. I did too. Grover's on his quest to find the lost god Pan. That is his whole thing. That is why he is mostly not in this book. Hey Jay Bent, thanks for the sub. Thanks for the sub. Oh yeah, my Kingdom Hearts. Kingdom, yes, perfect. Kingdom Hearts stream coming Wednesday. Hell yes. Um, anyway, Grover's on his quest to find the lost god Pan. On this quest, he basically by accident happens to come across the Golden Fleece, being dragged into a yeah. There's the Kingdom Hearts teaser. So he comes across the Golden Fleece essentially by accident, and while falling into a trap. It's not super clear who the like who laid the trap, if the trap was laid at all, or if it's just a terrible coincidence that so many satyrs happen to be finding their gruesome ends at Polyphemus's hands.
I believe the way it was described was the Golden Fleece radiates nature magic, a very strong source of it, which is the exact kind of magic that Pan normally radiates.
Oh yeah, so
And I think it was implied that Polyphemus at least knew that's what the fleece did, because he had said that towards the very end of just like, oh no, that brings in all tasty satyr, something like that. I'd have to look for the quote.
Yeah, so basically.
So I choose to believe that he found the fleece, but that's just personally me.
So because of this, Grover established some kind of emotional link with Percy, and has been sending him all sorts of visions about that. Grover is literally in a wedding dress, pretending to be a like lady Cyclops to seduce. Like he's Bugs Bunnying it basically.
Exactly.
He put on a wedding dress, pretending to be a lady Cyclops to seduce Polyphemus.
My personal headcanon of things is he gets onto the island, Polyphemus sniffs him out and says, oh, is that a tasty satyr I see? And then Grover's like, no, it's perfume. Yeah, perfume. And then Polyphemus is like, so you must be a lady. All right, you'll be my bride.
It's funny because that raised the question of where did he get the wedding dress? I presume Polyphemus supplied it. Reminder, Polyphemus is half blind because his eye is still healing very, very slowly from after Odysseus stabbed it out. Which also another Odyssey reference is that Grover is weaving his wedding veil in preparation for the wedding, and that he undoes some of the strands of it every night.
I actually had not clocked onto that, because that is exactly what Penelope did with her tapestry.
It's exactly what she did, also to avoid a marriage. So Grover's keeping that in mind. He's keeping those strats available. So as per Odyssey as well, the gang is assisted by Hermes at the beginning of the quest. He gives them some Odyssey related items, a wind bag in the form of a thermos for one.
The holy moly.
Yeah, the moly, and with the like monster gummies, multivitamins that also provide protection against. He doesn't say what they do, but if you're familiar with Epic, haha, then you know that what it does is it provides protection against Circe's magic. What it does exactly honestly depends a bit on which version of the myth, but for this one it just provides protection against magic. And you also find out that the Sea of Monsters is not, we mentioned Bermuda Triangle, right, with the coordinates, because that's where the Sea of Monsters happens to be. Odysseus sailed it while it was still in the Mediterranean. Now it is smack dab in the Caribbean, and it's literally the Bermuda Triangle.
Yeah, they had said, similar to Olympus, it had moved just because that's how West works. Something like that. The Western spirit.
It is. Also, this is where I had a long ass quote from. I pulled this whole quote. I don't think I'm gonna read all of it, but it was all like Tantalus after the gang had left. The gang of Tyson, Annabeth, and Percy, obviously. Tantalus recounts his story of how he got sentenced to Tartarus. Forgot to mention the whole reason why he's recounting the story, right? Isn't it because they were sending out the chariot race happened, the Ares cabin won, and so Clarice got to go out on Clarice got to be the official quest goer for this mission. You know, she saw the Oracle. She got some help from Daddy Ares. You know, the bully character from the last book essentially gets a bit of an ascended role here, and is sent by Tantalus.
Joke here.
Yeah. She's sent ahead. Our heroes go in secret because they're not supposed to technically. And during this point, Tantalus tells his whole backstory. Which it's just yeah, I'll read some of it because it's fun. It's creepy as hell. It's like once again the series coming very close to genuine horror because his story is horrifying. So once upon a time there was a mortal king who was beloved of the gods. This king was even allowed to feast on Mount Olympus, but when he tried to take some ambrosia and nectar back to earth to figure out the recipe, the gods punished him. They banned him from their halls forever. His own people mocked him. His children scolded him. And oh yes, campers, he had horrible children. Children just like you. Do you know what he did to these children? To his ungrateful children? Do you know how he paid back the gods for their cruel punishment? He invited the Olympians to feast at his palace, just to show that there were no hard feelings. No one noticed that his children were missing. And when he served the gods dinner, my dear campers, can you guess what was in the stew? Oh, the gods punished him in the afterlife. They did indeed, but he'd had his moment of satisfaction, hadn't he? His children never again spoke back to him or questioned his authority. And do you know what? Rumor has it that the king's spirit now dwells at this very camp, waiting for a chance to take revenge on ungrateful, rebellious children.
I like how it's also kind of framed as a boogeyman type story as well.
He is the boogeyman. The whole story is horrifying. Oh my god. I love it. If you
don't behave, the boogeyman's gonna get you. Or in this case, if you don't behave, Tantalus is gonna send out the harpies to eat you.
Send out the harpies. He's gonna bake you into a pie. He's gonna bake you into a pie.
I'm actually not joking
Sweeney
about that.
Todd
that is...
style.
Yes, he actually had said, oh yeah, harpies, go be free, enforce curfew.
He did, but I feel like that's a much lesser punishment compared to being Sweeney Todded.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay, but yeah, so they go on their quest. This you know, they I took a note. Do you remember if they explained Percy's name in the last book, or if this is the first time that it had come up?
I believe this is the first time. Actually, no. I think they had mentioned he had the same name as a hero of old before, but they didn't explain why he had it.
This is the first time. It's a plot point for the series, but that because demigods typically do not have very happy endings, as is said time and time again in the series. His mom, in hopes of bestowing upon him some amount of luck, named him after Perseus, the one demigod that, like, you know, takes some W's, doesn't die horrifically at the end.
That's the best you're getting out of the great gods, unfortunately.
That is because you know, especially when you think of some of the other demigods that are mentioned here, including Heracles. The book calls him Hercules, funny enough. I did check. I took a note. Calls him Hercules, not Heracles. Which fair.
I blame Disney.
It's fine. It's just Hercules is essentially just the English pronunciation IMO at this point. I'll accept it. But yeah, so they go into a cruise ship, a mysterious cruise ship, the Andromeda, in order to hitch a ride down to Florida to get to the Bermuda Triangle. And there is, of course, nothing wrong with this ship whatsoever.
About Rainbow.
Oh yes, the hippocampi.
We really need to bring up Rainbow for plot relevance later.
We do.
Let's move on. Tyson befriended one of the hippocampi, named her Rainbow.
You know, the hippocampus are like, aside from being a section of the brain, they're like like a half horse, half fish, essentially. Kind of,
Merhorse.
yeah, kind of the progenitor of the horse as far as Greek mythology is concerned, essentially. Um, but yeah, the Poseidon, god of all horses. So Pegasus, Hippocampus, horses, they're all under his domain, and so he sends some hippocampi to the trio in order to take them to the Andromeda. And yes, Tyson befriends one of them. It's very sweet. It's like the one horse that he loves horses. It's like the one horse that'll let him ride him without issue. um but yeah, and also I did note the convenience of Hermes packing Tyson's tools as well as Annabeth's hat. Sometimes, see, like, considering how inconvenient, like how inconvenient are these guys' lives constantly because they're at the whims of gods all the time, and it's like, oh my
I
god, a god can just do this, can just help them magically. That's like you can just do that.
I would say very inconvenient, but at the same time, I think Hermes was kind of saying like, keep this on the down low, all right? We're not trying to make a big deal out of this, if you catch my drift.
Oh, he's definitely trying to keep it on the down low. Definitely a half-hearted attempt as well to hopefully grab Luke's attention and like maybe talk to him, talk him
I
down
think
the
that
ledge
was
a bit.
his. I think that was his primary intention.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, just suddenly,
Yes,
uh,
also on the topic of Hermes, I do just want to say, God of Thieves showing off the stuff he stole and gave back to Percy and crew.
exactly. But yeah, just again, immediate convenience. Second, you're like, oh my god, on our side, and just all of a sudden everything's so much easier. Basically, what happens in the Odyssey too. Honestly, if the gods are in his favor, everything's cool, everything's dandy. He's having a great time. The second one of them decides he's on their shit list, everything's awful. Everyone's dying all the time. um but yeah, you find out that cruisers are all in a trance. Find out that Luke is there. Tyson does a creepy like voice mimicking thing with like a distance hearing. Annabeth hates it, and she accidentally gets them caught by Luke.
And don't forget the reason that they didn't fight their way out is because they had bear men.
They did. Luke had some big scary boys with him. The one time I'm going to mention a chapter title, or chapter a chapter number, because at the beginning of chapter 9 is when I clocked the first nobody joke. There are many in
Hold
this
on,
book. There are many in
I
this.
gotta look that up now.
Yeah, there.
I know I've seen some, but I don't remember one there.
The quote was either we all went together or nobody went. Nobody, Tyson voted, please. And I was like, I see
Oh, I
what
love
you.
that. I remember that now.
Every time just the word nobody showed up in the book, I just giggled a little bit.
My name is Nobody. Copyright strike.
Pew pew pew. But yeah, they get captured immediately because Annabeth Annabeth gets kind of like creeped out, sells him out. And Luke goes on another tirade about destroying the West, killing the gods, this and that. A tirade that
True,
again.
but we also were clued in on the details of his plan because we actually found out here that he has Kronos in a box.
We kind of knew about Kronos earlier. He was talked about a lot in the last book, but this is the first time it becomes very clear the intentions. Yeah, he has Kronos in like this casket, reforming slowly. Apparently, also fueled. It's like fairy rules or whatever. So he's fueled by the amount of by the belief or by his amount of followers or whatever.
It was a amount of followers, I believe it was.
Yeah. So
Which is why Luke is going on an active recruiting campaign, which is where he tried to say, hey guys, I know I betrayed you, tried to kill you, Percy, but like, join us because the gods kind of suck.
which because Luke's plan is actually relatively it's like kind of inconsequential to the grander scheme of things. They say they like hold off explaining it fully, but I'm just gonna go on ahead and like explain essentially what this was, why he poisoned the tree. Because the whole deal was that he wanted to poison the tree specifically to like prompt the demigods to have to go on a quest for it, and bring it back so that way he could steal it at the last moment, use it on Kronos, and then also potentially give it back to them afterwards for the sake of healing the tree. That part's slightly less clear, but
Mhm.
that's
And
what
was
I
it
started to suspect.
yeah? And was it here where Percy was compared to Thalia?
He was. Annabeth said that him and Thalia were like Thalia. I'm not sure actually which one would be more right.
I've been saying Thalia because
Thalia,
TH.
Thalia. It's fine. Um, uh,
Best of friends or worst of enemies.
yeah, because they're like she said they were exactly alike. Essentially, that they had like very similar personalities. And we'll get to her when we get to her in Titan's Curse. But for now, don't worry about it.
Just breadcrumbs for the future.
Yeah. But really, though, I mostly just wanted to put a pin in what Luke said about Destroy the West, because that's another thing where I'm like, once we understand more about Luke and his quest and how they're going to be treating all of that, I will be able to give proper critique as to whether that passes the vibe check. Because again, as we mentioned last stream, the West as a concept is kind of contentious. And sadly, I did not bother to review any of the reading or video essays that actually describe it well. So I'm not going to try and get back into it. Just, yeah, pin in that. Oh, honestly, that kind of reminds me. I literally forgot. I wanted to start off the stream with which hopefully if I remember then I will like move this section to the beginning of the stream. But corrections, just because I like I don't read a ton of comments just generally as a rule of thumb, but I did like I did look. I was looking at comments for the edited video. Someone pointed out a discrepancy that I thought was just worth mentioning. It's a little thing at the end of the day. That doesn't really affect the grander scheme of things, but just that I think I'd mentioned that Luke had given Annabeth her cap, but it was actually a gift from Annabeth's mom, I believe. That's what the
Ah.
person had said, but then Luke did borrow it for the sake of his quest and definitely knew that like definitely knew about it. So he's definitely trying to incriminate her. That it was like one scene where I had mentioned that the whole thing was him kind of trying to throw her under the bus. But yeah, it was a little detail. Annabeth's mom gave it to her. Athena gave it to her, not Luke. But honestly though, no big deal. I will try and begin streams with corrections for last streams if I can. But I think I even pinned that or something. Pinned that comment. But oh yeah,
Either way, Luke served to incriminate her.
yes. But this is also our first breadcrumb that we're given for Hermes and Luke's relationship and what's going on with that, because we do get explicitly that Hermes is trying to connect with Luke, that he's trying to like talk him off the ledge, bring him back, yeah, and that Luke is not having it for one reason or another. He is uniquely resentful towards Hermes in a way that implies that more happened than him simply going out for milk. But what that is hard to imagine considering how nice of a guy Hermes comes across as in Sea of Monsters. And honestly, Hermes is one of the nicer gods in general in Percy Jackson. So I won't spoil it for now, obviously. We'll get there when we get there. In fact, I think that'll take until almost the last book in this series. But yeah, we're gonna get to the whole what's the deal with Luke? What's the deal with Luke's backstory? Why is he the way he is?
Because clearly there is something more. Because he talks about completely not just destroying and starting anew, he seems to want to shape it in his own image, as if he knows what's best. Almost as if he's playing God.
Aha, exactly. So, to move on, I think this is around when they get an Iris call to Chiron. They come across the Hydra. They fight the Hydra, which we did notice that they inserted the Hydra actually into the first movie. Funny enough. It's a very different scene.
Yeah, but I don't recall any steamships there.
No steamships. They get rescued by Clarice, captaining a Confederate
Well,
riverboat.
not capturing. She was actually gifted that from her papa.
It's a captaining.
Uh, oh, captain. I thought you
Yeah.
said capturing.
No, captaining a Confederate riverboat, which yes, as you figure is as you would think, does not do too well on the seas.
No. I mean, it could have been worse. Aerie could have given her the first Confederate sub, which completely blew up.
Mm-hmm. But it is very directly. All the boats in this are real boats. Funny enough, like I did mention the Queen Anne's Revenge, which is Blackbeard's boat that we get to later, but this one is also a real boat from what I understand. Um, And just as the first note I have here is that just as I was about to say, oh no, we got Confederate vampires again, with Ares being on the Confederate side and this and that. It was clarified actually that Uncle Rick dodged
I am
the
glad
World War
for
II
that
issue.
personally.
Yeah, where it's clarified that that it's not that Ares was on the Confederate side, but it's that all losing sides of all wars owe him tribute, and that this is just a thing that happens whenever with all losers of wars. So he is so yeah, they have to serve Clarice, and I do wonder if he even gave her a shitty riverboat on purpose, because we see him and Clarice interact in this chapter, and it's pretty bad. It's like maybe the worst parent-child interaction we've seen so far in this series.
It seems rather emotionally abusive.
It's pretty bad. Which is like, I did not remember him actually being this bad towards his children, but like,
And
I have a quote here, which is, "No father," Ares mimicked. "You're pathetic. I should have let one of my sons take this quest." And like, it's like him talking to her, and like, holy shit.
oh, I'm glad you had that quote on hand, because I was just going to loosely paraphrase that. Because, yeah, he basically was chastising her ability to succeed in this. And if I remember correctly, he, continuing his grudge with Percy, was saying, do not allow him to get in your way.
Yeah, no, it was pretty, and I think I even wrote down, I'm trying to remember what exactly brought on me writing that down, but that, yeah, he's a bad dad. There's a hint of sexism, and there's straight up a physical abuse implication in there. I don't remember from where specifically. I don't know if I even want to bring up the quote that made me think of that, but just it's quite bad. It's quite toxic, and in a world of like mostly neglectful parents, he seems not only familiar with her, but it seems to be a very negative, contentious relationship. Yeah, Jay Ben saying he got that impression as well of physical abuse implication, and like
So we all
pretty
picked that
bad.
up then.
It's pretty bad. It's pretty uniquely bad. Um
But besides the parental abuse here, something else we need to mention is through the lair of Scylla.
I was gonna say that. Shoot. Okay, no. Okay. Yeah, to bring it a little bit lighter. I don't know about you, but when they were coming across all of the monsters in quick succession here, right? You have a Hydra, you have Charbidus, you have Scylla, Carbidus. Do
I've
not know.
honestly just
Carabidus.
I've decided I'm not going to pronounce the name right, so I'm just going to call it Catabasis.
So, Catabasis. Like literally, the second they came across each of those, I just kept on like singing the songs quietly to myself as I was reading it, just like, oh, bring it on. Drown in your sorrows and fears. It's great. It was great. It was great. Yeah. YouTube comments, if you know how to pronounce that, write it down. Again, I will. I tend to be anti YouTube comments. Not that I don't want you to leave a comment, but just that I know how weird and abusive they can get really quickly, especially if you're like visibly a woman on the internet sometimes. But
My condolences.
I promise though, so long as you guys behave yourself, I will continue reading them as I do right now. so please leave a comment about your like how it's properly pronounced or whatever. All comments are good comments for the algorithm. Not all comments are good for my eyes and mental health. So sometimes I'm a little cautious when looking through them. I don't look through them constantly. I try and be in a good headspace when I'm looking through them. And don't think I won't stop looking at them entirely for literally every video if a few of you guys start misbehaving. So be nice. Which also just means that, yeah, if you do leave an abusive comment, I probably wouldn't even see that shit after a while. So
Yeah.
whatever.
Though I do want to bring up, want to ask, I should say, for the dead of the losing side of a war owing tribute to Ares, is that like an actual thing that Greek lore acknowledges? Or
I
is that just kind of made up? Because I
no
do not
idea.
know.
I have no idea. It sounds like one of those things that might be drawn from myth, but like I couldn't tell you.
Honestly, I could believe either or personally.
Mhm.
But there is one more emotional thing that we should probably bring up here.
Mhm.
Tyson.
Oh shit! Oh my god, the Tyson fake out death. I mean the Tyson death. No. See, I didn't even remember it, and I don't even think I bothered writing it down. As outside of just me at one point putting a note of, oh yeah. Literally, the one note I put down was obviously 0% chance that Tyson is dead. Is the only way I even acknowledged it. The ship explodes because, well, it's a steam ship and it gets overrun by the very harsh currents called by the Charybdis.
They set, yeah, and they set the engine to basically max, which overheats and combusts.
Yeah, Tyson got caught up in the explosion. Percy thinks he's dead, but Percy's fucking stupid.
We have established this.
So
Also,
yeah, he's not dead. He's
Polyphemus.
fine.
We also had cut to Grover and Polyphemus again. Polyphemus said his intruders have to get past his sheep. I can only assume this means he gave them a gun.
That is what happened. Yes, and you are in fact right.
That is one of the notes for jokes I have.
No.
I had to bring it up.
Okay, this is the characters once again are in their natural habitat, spending their whole journeys being dirty and hungry. They're like sharing a Dr. Pepper while stranded on like a lifeboat. It's great. And that also sets them up perfectly to get caught up in Circe's, or Cece's, as she's introduced, spa. The most obvious red flag on the planet. So obvious that even the characters are like, okay, we know this is a trap, but like,
we don't know what the trap is.
Yeah, literally, like, we know this is a trap, but well, if it means we can eat, then I'm sure it'll be fine.
They were desperate.
They were so desperate, and it did pay off. They did manage to get out of it because Hermes gave them the moly. You know,
holy moly.
They fought off Circe, the multivitamins. Fought off Circe. Percy was turned into a guinea pig instead of like a full-sized pig.
She said she had switched to guinea pigs in general just because they're less hasslesome to deal with, which agreed.
Agreed, but also I presume she was just eating the pigs before, so I feel like she cut off that potential.
I mean, what was it? Not the Andes. No, not Guyana. I think Guyana. They practice eating guinea pigs.
Fair, but she wasn't eating these ones though. She had like. Well, this is how they come across the Queen Anne's. This is how they come across the Queen Anne's revenge. You find out that Circe's been doing this to people in the Bermuda Triangle specifically for centuries. She mentions having some guinea pigs that have been in there for 300 years, and you find out that's literally Blackbeard and his crew, because the actual Queen Anne's revenge is docked at the spa island, as well as a bunch of ships from a bunch of other time periods. And so they also happen to free Blackbeard in the process. They escape on his ship. Let me read Jabet's comment here. So I do love that they supposedly study Greek mythology, so they know more about what they can encounter, but didn't recognize Circe from the Odyssey immediately. It's a minor nitpick. I mean,
I would like to be the defense for this case because she was not openly flaunting her name as Circe. She was going under a pseudonym of Cece. And instead of it just being an island of nymphs, it took the form of a spa. So there's enough changes for you to not immediately clock it's Circe until you get a little deeper, which is when they themselves had clocked this is Circe.
They figure it out pretty quickly. Yeah.
In the course of like 5 pages at the worst.
Yeah, so that's not bad. And also I will say, for the purpose of the story, it's more interesting if they can't clock literally everything they come across all the time. Just
Yeah.
saying. But yeah, also this is where I started writing down some of the funny like celebrity half-bloods that get name dropped constantly. Amelia
Oh,
Earhart is mentioned as a
Amelia.
half-blood.
Uh, it is
um
funny. Who do you think she was the child of?
well, I mean, my instinct was to say Zeus because she was a pilot, but
I
uh
kind of want to say Hermes because travel.
yeah, I feel like Hermes is another main possibility because it can't be Zeus because I think that was the
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 pact.
pact was already there and they weren't. I feel like if someone that famous was the result of the broken pact, it would have been mentioned. Um,
Yeah.
not that they haven't been breaking the pact anyway, but they keep those kids secret for a reason.
And turn
Um,
them into trees.
and turn them into trees. Um,
Hermes feels like the safe bet.
Hermes is a safe bet. Athena's a possibility, but I think Hermes. I feel like I really am leaning to Hermes.
Mhm.
Um, but uh, but yeah, we also Blackbeard, son of Ares. That one I think is said directly.
I forgot. He was the son of Ares, so that was another demigod that was there.
Yeah. um which then we go on to the next little trap, in which case yes, these guys do know this one's coming. They are perfectly aware that the sirens are coming up and they're starting to prepare for it. Annabeth.
Funny enough, that actually seems to harken back to the original Odyssey a lot more than the epic version. Because
Yeah.
in the epic, they did that for information. Odie did, Odysseus. Initially, Odysseus just wanted to hear it. He just really wanted to know.
Yeah, he wanted to
And
be the one guy to know.
so they basically recreated what Odysseus did, but instead of it just being incredibly pleasurable to the ear, would you like to get into what it reveals?
Yeah. So, first I would like to plant the seed here, which is that it is mentioned that Annabeth's deadly flaw is the exact same as Odysseus's. She suffers from hubris, is her issue. So there are a lot of Annabeth Odysseus parallels here. Like she is essentially playing the part of Odysseus in this story,
I
much more so
love the
than
fact
Percy.
you bring that up because that is one of my larger things in my notes.
Yeah, so she is playing the part of Odysseus, and it becomes very obvious in this chapter in particular, where yes, they tie her. Percy ties her to the mast and sticks beeswax in his ears. Them using the exact same method that Odysseus used. She says that she wants to hear it not because like Odysseus in the myth just has big dick energy and just wants to hear the most beautiful sound of the world, but because supposedly it shows you like how did they say it specifically, that it shows you like your greatest
It shows you
desire
your
or like
greatest flaw.
greatest desire. I don't think it shows. Did they say flaw? I feel like
It
they.
literally showed her that she was hubristic.
Let me. I feel like I have to. I have the chapter
Shipman
bookmarked.
agrees.
I have the chapter bookmarked.
It's
No,
gonna
no,
say flaw.
that's what it does, but that's not what Annabeth thinks it does, and that's not why she does it.
Oh, okay. I guess I need to reread that
That's
then.
what it does, but that's not what she says it. That's not why she agrees to do it. Yeah. So yeah, no, what the fuck, I'm right. Shut the fuck up, guys. The quote says, they say the sirens sing the truth about what you desire. They tell you things about yourself that you didn't even realize. She learns her flaw from it because that's a part of the package that she didn't realize,
Okay.
but she initially does it because she believes it will show her a great truth or her like greatest desire, literally doing the Harry Potter
I
Mirror of
would
Erised thing.
I would like to put this on record. I was wrong. I'm
Ha.
sorry, women.
Ha ha ha. No, it's fine. It's fine. I mean, yeah, you guys are right about what it did in the end, just not why she agreed to it.
Yeah.
Because what it does is that it shows her a whole scene that I also took quotes of Annabeth with her family, of them in a Manhattan that she had redesigned, of her with specifically her father and Athena, as well as with Luke, who she clearly still is very, very sad over being separated from, who she still clearly feels has a lot of feelings towards one way or another. And it's a very tragic little description there, and you really understand why she gets so desperate to try and like make it out to the sirens, to the point where Percy has to jump in the water after her to try and save her
So get
from
in the
death.
water.
But oh yeah, also the great thing too of them of biblically accurate sirens, because they're not mermaids, they're like flying women. They're like bird women.
Yeah.
Biblically accurate sirens, we love to see it. Even Epic the Musical got that wrong. I saw like one animatic that changed it to where they were like bird women, but it's only one ever that I've seen do that. All the rest of them just make them
Plus
mermaids.
the lyrics themselves, if I remember
You
correctly,
say
it
cut off
said
their
cut
tails,
off their
throw them back in the
tails.
water.
Exactly.
The one that where they were birds had to like essentially
Cut off their wings.
no they also did like they cut off their tail feathers and like essentially convoluted a magical reason as to why that would kill them.
Oh, okay.
But yeah. And but after that though, it's a pretty swift march directly towards Polyphemus's island, in which we see it's like a tropical paradise. They reunite with Clarice again. She immediately blows Grover's cover. Which,
She is not a wise person.
god damn it,
Because she
Clarice,
is the daughter of Ares, not Athena.
just as I was starting to like you, Clarice, you do this shit. She blows their cover, and oh, I put down like a cute note here where so Polyphemus finds out that Grover is a satyr, is like cool, I'm gonna eat him raw, and Grover says no, don't do that. How about you like cook me and I'll give you a recipe with like mango chutney and some shit, and he says specifically that eating him raw will give him diseases like E. coli and botulism, which I thought was funny because if I'm correct, those are diseases that affect plants, not meat, right?
Botulism, I know, is an affliction one can get from honey. E. coli, I think you could get that from both, I believe.
Can you get it from both?
You could also get E. coli from ice.
I was wondering about that, but I saw that and I noticed that. I was trying to think of whether of like whether that was an intentional thing because Grover is a vegan, so maybe he'd only be able to like think of diseases that affect plant food. But yeah, I think you're I believe botulism tends to happen from improper storing or something, so
yeah,
technically it can, but
because you have to keep things at right temperature. Like I said, I know honey can give it to infants.
Yeah, but
so it sometimes just is a bodily reaction.
But E. coli, I think I've always associated E. coli more with like, well, there was the whole lettuce E. coli thing a couple years ago, right? Every so often, one bit of produce has to get recalled due to an E. coli breakout or outbreak. Oh yeah, another thing here, you know, Annabeth pretends to be nobody. She says her name's Nobody in order to mock Polyphemus, drag him away from the rest of the group, and try and fight him for a bit. Once
that
again,
she did quite intentionally saying, well, I'm not sure if she said it here, maybe later, but regardless, she was saying, oh, I knew he had a history with it, so I'm going to make him angry so he forgets about things.
She literally said, I'm gonna stab out your eye again, idiot.
My name is Nobody.
And this is also where you find out why the sheep are so terrifying. The piranha sheep. They're meat-eating, terrifying, sharp-teethed sheep. And it makes me wonder if Odysseus, when Odysseus killed that sheep, was it because of self-defense? Did he dodge a bullet and not trying to eat it at the end of the day? What went on there? But those things are terrifying. But yeah, just kind of a fun chapter. We could discuss more wholly Annabeth's whole connection to Odysseus. Would you rather say that for later, or do you want to get into that right now?
I was initially planning on saving that towards the end of things.
Let's save it to the end.
But I am okay.
Save it to the end then. We'll just, so long as you remember, your job to remember now.
Okay. I will take you up on that.
Okay. Or that's fine. We're close to the end of my notes anyway. Oh yeah, the chapter title of 15 took the note of it is Nobody Gets the Fleece, which is funny.
I read that title and immediately thought, oh, okay, Annabeth's getting it, isn't she?
It's funny, when I first read it, I was at first like, "Oh, I guess the heroes don't win," and then I remembered.
Oh, this is filled with puns.
I was like, "Oh, I see. They did Uncle Rick's at it again." Um, but Clarice does show why she is a fun, compelling character at the end of the day. Aside from her whole previous daddy
And
issues, she does immediately, without hesitation, say, "No shit, I'm going into battle with you guys, as if I'm just gonna run away, idiots. I'm fighting
also
alongside you to
showing
the
off,
death."
exactly, also showing off she's a daughter of Athene, or not Athene, Ares.
Mm. And then Tyson comes back. Tyson's fine. He's here. It's all good. Don't even worry
Yay,
about it.
Rainbow saved him. That's
Why
why we
were
brought
we
her up.
why were we even worried? I really wasn't. Not even because of spoilers, just because it's so obvious.
I genuinely knew he was going to stay alive. It's just like there's no way that kills
Too
him, and
obvious.
no way Rearidan will kill him off.
Mm-mm. But
I was just more curious on how he would get back, which was explained via Rainbow, because
maybe Rainbow.
Rainbow and its friends came back, and also now with some supplies.
Mm-hmm. But okay, this is gonna be my excuse to talk about Clarice for a little bit because this book really wants you to like her, right? Like they set up all this
Yeah,
stuff with like she gets her quest. She's like nervous when she gets the quest from Tantalus. Clearly, is not being like the annoying showboat that you assume she was going to be with it. You see her
mhm.
interactions with her dad. You see her fight along these guys. She literally carries Annabeth out of the cave on her back like clearly the book wants you to like her, and the reason for that is of course pretty clear. I think the idea of like the reformed bully storyline is maybe kind of contentious sometimes, but you can't deny it makes for a really good story because dang, at the end of the day, she really is just a kid like the rest of them with a lot of the same exact problems, in fact, include like not being able to fit in very well at home, having a very fraught relationship with her parents.
I
Um,
would also like to say reframing a lot of things after the Ares reveal is also key. Where now it's just like, oh, okay, she's not mean because wants to be. It's mean because she was kind of raised like that.
she is a lot like Annabeth at the end of the day in ways that the book doesn't super linger on, but you do kind of have to think about, right? That she is just a kid trying her best to perform the role of a child of her insert godly parent here. Um, and that because of that she acts in ways that are maybe not conducive to like proper socialization of a kid her age, certainly a bit antisocial, abrasive, not very likable to other children, but
Oh,
they view it as
absolutely.
like it's almost like a necessary like coping mechanism at this point, just to like, yeah, they
I
have to
would
be this way.
I would also like to bring up Percy, when he had gone on his quest, had gone with friends. Clarice did not, which I'm pretty sure might not have been intentional characterization, but I personally choose to believe it is, and it shows that Clarice is rather isolated.
She really is. It seems like mostly it just seems like what she really needs is she needs a friend, she needs a chance, she needs what Annabeth got. Annabeth had to kind of be forced into a situation where she had to start interacting with other children her age and understanding that there were other ways to be. That she didn't have to just be pleasing her parent all the time or trying to reach for this person who was never going to care for her. And Clarice needs that now. I think we're now in a place where like, yeah, she needs a friend is what she needs. Percy can't necessarily be that for her. I think we do in fact she will be given a friend soon enough if I remember correctly. And that does help soften her a lot. But yeah, that's what she needs primarily. She needs a bud.
Yeah, I kind of do agree with basically everything you said about Clarice, as you said, or not as you said, as I said in regards to the characterization. I believe that she's basically just an isolated kid who's just trying to do what she thinks is the right, well, not necessarily right, the correct is a better word, thing to do.
Exactly.
Because going back to earlier on with Tantalus, or actually, with the tree dying, as we know, the barrier faded, and they were doing border patrol. Tantalus had said, we'll scale it back. Clarice was one of the ones who actually was on Percy's side saying that's a stupid idea. She
Exactly.
just, yeah. So again, she's capable of connecting with others. It's just, in my opinion, she's not necessarily had the opportunity to do so. I personally prescribe her stay out of the Ares cabin for a little bit. It's a bad environment for her.
Yeah, it is. It definitely has. Maybe has a dog eat dog mentality, and because she feels like she has to enforce her position as the top dog at all times, that maybe it causes her to overcompensate in some ways. Maybe she might do better if she got out of that environment, started hanging out with, I don't know, the I mean, I can't say if I said anything. Here's the thing: I even know the like friend that she has, like their literal godly parent. I don't want to even spoil that. Best to just leave it at like
You know
I'm gonna
what?
leave you to find out.
Let's leave it at that and continue on to the next part, because now that they have escaped with the fleece, would you like to take on from here or for me to keep going?
Well, they escape with the fleece. Clarice does a little taunt that almost gets them in trouble, but in all fairness, Odysseus did the same thing. Uh,
And Polyphemus sinks nobody.
mm-hmm. And to me, this right here is where the Persebeth arc begins properly. This is where it's like, okay, we can consider this to be a viable ship at this point. And that is when Percy whispers to Annabeth while she is unconscious, "You're a genius." As fulfilling a promise that he had made about telling her that if they managed to make it out of this alive, I believe. And to me, that's the beginning of the Percabeth arc. That's the beginning of him like starting to be like, well, not that he's not been nice to her, but he hasn't necessarily shown it all the
There
time.
was an additional closeness.
Yes, they're becoming genuinely close in a way that was hard to imagine sometimes in the first book, but it seems it's they've come together very nicely. He really just is like this whole book is like, hey, what if Odysseus took Penelope with him? Friend Percy's
That's
Penelope,
it's funny because
obviously.
Percy
Duh.
is. Yeah, I was about to say.
Duh.
Uh,
He is supreme male wife as he gets older. Everyone
you
knows
know,
this.
it,
Everyone
you
knows
know,
this
while
about
we are still loosely on the topic of relationships, I'm going to be entirely honest. I had a stupid thought when reading of, I would like to see Clarice and Percy fic, just because the idea of, oh, that'd be an incredibly toxic situation if she doesn't shape up.
I mean, that's kind
I
of
don't
what
like
the
to see
movie
Percy
is.
suffering.
Kind of what the
It
movie
is.
is. So okay,
But
the
hold on, let me finish the punchline.
mm.
But I kind of like seeing Percy suffering sometimes, so yeah, sure.
Oh yeah. I feel like it's not much of a ship in the fandom. I could be wrong, but it's not one that I've
I
ever
can
seen much of.
I can understand why. Like I said, it would literally just be to see Percy trauma a little more.
Yeah, I think for one, Persebeth is considered like gospel by a lot of people. So if you're gonna ship Het, you're probably gonna stick with that. And two, like I'm just gonna be perfectly real with you here in a way that might be a little bit spoilery to the future. Like most people just read Clarice as like a stone cold lesbian.
Gotcha.
We'll get there. Oh yeah, over here, we get the classic bad guy gambit. They get the fleece, they come back to Florida, they're captured by Luke, and
Actually, you missed a very important
oh yeah,
step
they sent off
of
Clarice.
Clarice.
They sent away Clarice, which that's actually why I have the prophecy here written down. They sent Clarice ahead on a plane to Camp Half Blood in order to get there, since they only had like a day until essentially the time limit was up. Um, so even though Luke tries to come at them to try and get the fleece, they don't have it anymore. Clarice is literally already at the airport, potentially already on a plane by the time they get their hands on them. And she reads. We see the actual prophecy that Clarice received when she was heading on her quest. Let me read it out. You shall sail the iron ship with warriors of bone. You shall find what you seek and make it your own. But despair for your life entombed within stone, and fail without friends to fly home alone. and pretty much comes true. Her friends have to come over to save her, otherwise she would have been absolute toast. And she does fly home alone, but that's only because they send her on ahead, essentially, in order to get the job done.
Yeah, because I believe it was Percy who had reinterpreted that, who was basically like, it's not necessarily what you have to take at face value. Sometimes it could work in different ways. And then he was
Exactly.
immediately called insane by Annabeth, saying, "Are you really wanting to trust her?" And then he said yes.
Mm-hmm. And
I
it pays
do
off.
like that. Exactly. I do like that at Percy, though, of, yeah, he still is always going to be that nice kid, isn't he?
He is. He is. He's a
And that
kid with a
also
good
does
heart.
point out, yeah, and that also does point out Annabeth still, she holds prejudices for sometimes.
Mm. He's a kid with a good heart, and in comparison to the first book, he definitely ends up in a better place than in this
Yeah,
one.
absolutely
The
does.
first book ends kind of depressingly, depending on how you look at it. But this one, honestly, this one's like he made a new friend. He's broadened his horizons. He's gone through genuine character development, a positive character development, and it's all good. But we have one last thing though, the bad guy gambit that I took a note of, where he does that thing where he has Luke explain his plan in front of an iris message sent out to the camp in order to one, keep campers from trying to side with him, prevent as many people from becoming turncoats as possible, and two, in order to vindicate Chiron and free
Prevents
him. Yeah.
Kronos from getting empowered as well.
Mm-hmm.
And as deserved, Tantalus went to hell.
Tantalus went back to hell. Poor guy wasn't even involved in the main bad guy plot. He was just a dick.
Yeah, I genuinely thought he was going to be revealed to be like an additional spy or something.
Me too, honestly, as I was surprised.
Like, honestly, he has better motive than most other people, I would imagine.
It's one of those things where it's like, if it weren't for the fact that well, again, this is also around where we get the reveal that, you know, why Chiron was under suspicion in the first place was because he is a son of Kronos, making him literally the sibling of the of Zeus, Poseidon, and a lot of the rest of them.
Mhm.
And because of that, though, he was viewed as being under suspicion. So obviously, if they hadn't addressed that, it would have been kind of weird. But that does seem to be the main reason why Tantalus got introduced, just essentially to have someone else fill that position, to have someone being a mildly antagonistic force without necessarily muddying the waters with more villains, which is fine. This is not a series that needs a ton of like ongoing antagonists to work. Like we're gonna have enough by the end. We don't need one this early.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Because this story isn't exactly a simple, or not simple. How do you phrase it? One of those because of, as a result
Would you
of
say it's a
stories.
bit epic?
It is indeed an epic, but it is not intertwining story oftentimes, as similar to the Odyssey in that regard. It's definitely a lot of point A to point B, where then they just happen to get a bit closer to their goal.
We said it before. It was very Hobbit like, right? Where it's all like very individual little adventures these heroes go on that are more or less standalone. That includes a lot of like one-off bad guys that do not necessarily have grander motivations. They just kind of show up, do their thing, and then they might come back later, or, you know, maybe related to the main plot, maybe not, but, you know, it's kind of, they're all just little stories, you know, formatted the same way that the Odyssey is, literally.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have they have the centaur assist. The centaurs all come over to help them out. This is also they have a big, which that's after the like kind of failed sword fight against Luke, of which Percy starts to look like he's losing, and then they get the rescue. So also, I had a note here saying something along the lines of the Centaur Club sounds like a really good time, but I doubt that you could actually like. I'm gonna be real. I don't think anyone could keep up with them. You'd have to be like either a
I
centaur or
feel
a
like
satyr to keep up.
Yeah, I feel like that's one of those places where, one sec, I'm also trying to figure out how to ban. I'm doing manual typing. But I feel like that's one of those things where if it's you,
I already typed. I already banned them.
oh, thank you. I feel like it's one of those things where if you party with the centaurs, you would either go under a state of delirium, thank you Dionysus, or you would literally die from exhaustion.
Oh,
They seem
exactly.
to be that type of curse. I feel like I've seen that before.
Oh, exactly. It would you'd probably just go mad. You'd get
Yeah.
too high and you'd go mad. Um, but yeah, this is also the first little as they're escaping. Luke says something that makes you think that there's something strange going on with the fleece again. Okay, I'm actually going to give me like 2 minutes. I'll be right back. We'll finish this up. We'll do our final discussion very soon. Give me a bit.
Alrighty. Okay. And so, for my side note discussion, while Lily is out, I think it definitely is a bit interesting where Annabeth seems to kind of have risen to the level of deuteragamist in this story. Sure, it's not necessarily taking place from her point of view, we don't really hear her internal dialogue, but she gets enough story beats as well as character development where I think she actually rises up to a similar level to Percy here. Because, for example, she is the one who's basically turned into Odysseus during this, because she's the one who had made the decision to listen to the siren. She had to rescue, I almost said rescue Odysseus, rescue Percy from Circe. She was the one who actually came up with tricks against Polyphemus, continuing on as well with that Odysseus comparison. She also had killed a Lestragoian, one of those giants. She claimed the name of nobody, and Annabeth is daughter of Athena, and Odysseus for a time was patron of Athena, which, like I said, those are a lot more of the Odyssey tie-ins. But with Annabeth taking such, I want to say main character energy, I will be honest, but taking center stage with a lot of these plot points, it definitely feels like she has risen to deuteragamist, in my personal opinion, especially when she got to the emotional low point of the story. Well, I say emotional low point loosely, because I think that's actually before Circe, since, they had just lost Tyson. But that didn't even last long. But her reveal, her fatal flaw of hubris, because I think that's also something that is a revelation normally saved for main, or not main, protagonist. And here, as I said before, she is not our point of view. We don't know her internal dialogue. We don't know everything she knows. In fact, in some ways, she seems like she has some secrets from us. But despite all of that, I think we still know enough, see her do enough, where she is basically an equal level to Percy in that regard. And let me see if I have a good quote on this, because I think I remembered something about it. Gonna be honest, I did not write it down, so I will just make it up as I go along. Because she, in this story, I'm not going to say she was a flat character, but she definitely, because that's just definitely wrong. I'm basically trying to hold my tongue so I don't say the character development before we get to that part of the stream. She has a key point of character development, specifically in regards to Tyson, which I'm pretty sure if anyone can kind of guess the general vibes of, what is this, kid story, young adults? The way that my library had categorized this was children, but if you can kind of guess just by the vibes of things so far, she definitely turns out for the better towards the end. And I think it's also kind of fun to note that she hasn't exactly made as many godly comparisons in this book compared to the last. Because last time she was just like, my mom doesn't like your dad.
I'm
Oh
back.
no. Oh, hey, welcome back. Just going on a little bit of an Annabeth diatribe. Were you able to listen?
No.
Oh. Basically, I just described why I believe her to be a deuteragamist. And I
Oh yeah.
almost accidentally talked about some of her character development before we got to that point, but I held my tongue enough.
But yeah, she's definitely the deuteragonist of the series. no doubt there. Though, as the cast grows more ensemble as it goes along, that maybe starts to get put into question a bit. I'll say she starts in that respect starts getting replaced a bit by Jason Grace as we go further and further. But we'll get there when we get there, so don't worry about it.
For now, we can at least definitively say for this book, she indeed was the deuteragonist. I had gone over how she took up a lot of the things that Odysseus had done.
Deuteragonist, if
Which
not the
are-
protagonist in a lot of ways, especially for this book.
I struggle to say protagonist outright because our point of view character, the one we start off with, the one we technically end off with, is still Percy.
Well,
We know his internal dialogue.
Point of view doesn't
Yeah.
inherently mean protagonist. Not necessarily. Like it's a good indication, but that's not always what it means. You know.
Oh, okay.
I'm like actually trying to think of a case in which that's not the case,
Mhm.
and uh, okay, I feel like I almost was on the tip of my tongue there thinking of something. Honestly, like just may. Okay, I'll get back to you on that. One of those cases where if I think of something later, it will be playing on the projector behind me right the second. But for now, just pretend I said something. It was all very, very clever.
Oh, that was very, very clever.
Yay. So let's finish up the plot discussion though, and then we'll lean into Annabeth discussion properly, and we might end up
Attack of the
going
Party
over.
Ponies.
Yes. Yeah, we're just very nearly done. This is where Chiron reveals that he's Kronos' son, and that's why he was under suspicion. And then I put a fun note around here, which is like, and then everything was okay. Wait a minute, look at how many pages there are left.
Oh, good.
boy.
I'm not the only one who had that vibe.
Yeah. Just they definitely try and be like, it's fine now. It's the end. We're good. Don't look at the chapter count. We're done here.
Yeah, because basically they even have like a big celebration of like, we did a chariot race and Annabeth and Percy won. But then Annabeth is like, hey guys, let's also thank not Percy. Let's also thank Tyson. And Percy's like, my brother.
And then Tyson, and then everyone clapped and they had a sweet brotherly moment. And Percy said that's his brother. And then he got a kiss on the cheek from Annabeth, and with more Percabeth propaganda. And
then you realize, oh wait, the story's not done.
Yeah, and then there's a little bit more still left as far as that goes, which is just that you get a sense of Percy's character arc, like I was talking about before. The idea that rather than just becoming more hardened and more suspicious of the world, kind of becoming more worn down, he instead has a more positive outlook on life by the end. He has formed more positive relationships in his life with his brother, with Annabeth, starting with Clarice. He's beginning to reach some level of emotional maturity that he did not have at the beginning of this book. Character arc complete. And then oops, the tree. So,
Oopsie.
do you want to describe what happens to the tree? What's going on with Talia's tree?
Well, if memory serves correctly, the tree is doing perfectly fine. It is standing strong. And why is that a child under the tree?
Yeah, so the tree spits out Talia, spits her out. Patui. She like comes out of the tree. It heals her so well it brings her back to life somehow, essentially. Or maybe she was just in the tree the whole time and she wasn't really dead, she was in stasis. Who knows? Someone should probably tell Apollo that, because like half of his lovers are trees currently. So someone should let him know. I'm sure he'd be interested. And this is not only just a funny little accident, this is basically stated to be explicitly a part of Kronos and Luke's plan. It seems to be why Luke mentioned that he was going to give the fleece back, why he had mentioned that Talia would in fact want this and would be okay with this plan. All because his idea was that if he got to bring his friend back, that it would all be worth it. But this, of course, has the unfortunate side effect of, well, they don't mention the prophecy directly, but they do bring up the grand prophecy of the whole series that has them all in trouble, which is that a demigod that is the child of the big three is supposed to reach the age of 16 and will essentially decide the fate of the world, basically, of Olympus, whether to destroy the gods or to have them persevere. And, well, originally that really only left Percy. Bringing Talia back in the mix, though, whoo boy, suddenly there are two possible candidates, two chances for Kronos to be able to potentially sway a demigod onto his side in order to change the tide of battle here.
Mm-hmm.
So, and because Talia is such an unknown, especially after what we know about Luke and everything, feels like nothing's really guaranteed as far as like which direction her character is going in at this point. Literally Percy even mentions, Annabeth said, like, she'd either be my best friend or my worst enemy. And that feels even more powerful considering what we know about the prophecy, that like, yes, those are in fact the two options.
Yep. It's almost like poetry, sort of, they rhyme.
Aha.
Gonna fit that George Lucas quote so many times in these things, aren't I?
I'm gonna put in the clip. Like poetry rhymes.
No, the full quote is just like poetry, sort of they rhyme. He stutters.
But that is the book essentially, and once again ends on something of a cliffhanger with a lot of things left up in the air. And that's where we will be resuming with Titan's Curse next month, though of course again watching the adaptations next week. But before we finish things off, of course, we were going to discuss Annabeth's character, right?
Yes, indeed.
We're going to discuss Annabeth's character, the Odysseus parallels and all that, and why those are so worth discussing, because they really are. She's very interesting, and this is where you start to get a hint. I hope you're starting to realize as to why I was so insistent last stream, why she's like one of, if not my favorite character in this series.
And gotta say, I admit it, she is a very good character. I don't want to say her character arc was flat, because that definitely is not true, but she definitely makes it out on the other side better.
If you're worried about it being flat, we've just gotten started here. We look how many books we have left. We've just gotten started here. You haven't gotten Mark of Athena isn't even on the list right now, and we'll get there eventually.
Oh, by the title of that, I could tell that's going to be big with things. Because what it seems like is, sure, there was a reveal of her grand flaw, but there wasn't exactly a lot of impact with it. But I am sure that is going to be a seed to grow into a great, great tree.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And well, for now, it's just she's just a good character. God, I said this a lot last one, but like having her comparing her directly to Odysseus is like, this is where I can bring in some of my epic interpretations here, because again, I haven't read the actual Odyssey in forever. I wouldn't even remember what my interpretations of that were at the time. But like, just this idea of this person who is again kind of doomed by the narrative, who has to then pull herself out of that dooming by like any means necessary. Who is determined to not get wrecked by the incredible circumstances that she has been put in. And that who still, her main flaw is hubris. Definitely get to that. She definitely showed some signs of that, and definitely had some signs of that too in the last book as well. Though again, right, what do they say about pride? That pride is not like self-confidence, but it is but it is a disguise for lack of self-confidence.
I think she was telling that to Percy, wasn't she?
I don't know if that's just a thing I hear generally, so I'm not sure if she said that directly.
Because I was about to say, I don't quite remember that quote, but I do remember her discussing hubris itself with Percy, because I know she said, you don't have hubris, because he had described how he doesn't get the point of rebuilding a world.
He has the audacity. He actually just has confidence. She is a very anxious
He's
person who is honestly very like unconfident in a lot of ways, but who tries to put on a front in order to make up for that.
Percy is confident enough to say, dude, I cannot handle the world. That sounds like a lot of effort and skill that I don't have, bro.
Mhm. But like again, it's kind of the difference between, and I think Epic gets at this to some points as well, why a lot of people actually really connect with that version of Odysseus, because he does seem like a supremely
Oops, I'll be right
self-conscious
back.
person. Oh shit, guess I'm gonna be talking for a bit. Anyway, Odysseus comes across as an extremely self-conscious person in the story of Epic, as one who in a deeply relatable way seems very unsure about his path, about his life going forward, and who is constantly shifting around, trying to adjust to whatever moment he's in, and it gets him in trouble all the time. Whenever whenever it would have been better for him to stick to his guns, he always pivots at the wrong moment, right? And that's like, and it is clearly him, like, but he still has this incredible amount of arrogance that is clearly trying to cover that up. Though, of course, also a level of like he's literally like a king of Ithaca. He's won this great battle. He definitely has some, I won't
And
say
during,
well earned hubris, but I was just
I
talking
mean,
about
and
Odysseus and his
also
character.
during, oh no, I was able to hear.
Okay.
And during the whole Odyssey part of things, he was still the captain of all of those men that died, but he still had to wear the face of a leader, which I feel like also can flavor one's actions on if they do decide to second guess themselves or not.
Bit of off the cuff analysis here, but I think there's an aspect of Annabeth being a character that attempts to hit a slightly more realistic version of that, with also the layer of her being a teenage girl, obviously, who is because of that also going to be supremely self-confident, like self-conscious and unconfident, as I think most teenage girls are at that stage. And
I personally cannot speak with experience on that subject.
well, I can. It's pretty much universal. If you're a teenage girl at that age, your self confidence is not going to be terribly high. So what she has instead is hubris and arrogance in an attempt to cover that up in order to reach something that she views as being closer to what her mom would want or how she should be, rather than rather than meeting herself where she's at and just trying to build up a natural self-confidence. She's still trying to kind of cover that up in whatever way, and that is her fatal flaw, one that she can only, of course, naturally overcome through camaraderie, through friendship, through admitting that she's maybe not the one that has the answers all the time.
Yeah,
So
and this seems to be just overall consistent characteristic of hers going on, and I cannot wait to see when that gets challenged.
but she's a really, really damn like good, well-written character. I gotta say, there's a reason why a lot of girls really connect with her when reading about her growing up, and yeah, I gotta say, it's great. It's great. It's super well written. Part of me instinctually wants to be like, I feel like a worse writer, right, would do that arc, would look at that arc and do the a really shitty thing of like,
Oh, you're talking about, oh, the way she loses her hubris is through love. That would be crappy.
get through love, or even worse, like that she has to be kind of put in her place by a man
Oh, that's
or
even
something.
worse.
And like that is so clearly not what is being done here, or what is like this is there was a quote that I had said while we were watching the movie the other day that I will get into more, of course, but it was a quote
Oh,
from
I know the
Lindsay Ellis.
quotes.
Yeah,
Oh,
that
not
it's
that
not
quote. I thought you were going to say the quote was, they completely change everything. This sucks.
that too, but no, more that it's not bad writing because it's misogynistic. It's misogynistic because it's hacky writing, right? That like because it is well written, because it is well considered, any argument of it potentially being misogynist kind of like falls at its feet. right? Because it feels so realistic and well considered. So even if it maybe on paper feels like a trope, you believe it because you just like her as a character so much. So it works fine.
Exactly.
And Percy also continues to respect her as a person, as someone who where like the idea is that she doesn't always have the answers, but he still looks to her as someone who he thinks of as having the answers generally, because he still views her as smarter than himself, as very capable, and so
I
he continually
okay.
relies on her.
This might be my shipper heart speaking, but like I kind of find that adorable. Where it's
Super
just like,
adorable.
exactly. It's just like, oh yeah, she's my smart friend. I like her. She has answers. I just kind of find that charming.
It's a relationship, and this is why people really like this one. Even, you know, this is why this is a ship that manages to escape, like, to make a comparison here. I've been dipping my toes back into the Invincible fandom lately, and I've noticed that, like, one, I found the relationship between Eve and Mark to be deeply uncompelling for the most part, and I've noticed that the queer side of the fandom does in fact tend to stay away from that ship for the most part. That it is really not one that seems terribly popular amongst a lot of fan creators over there. Um, uh, and and I think it's because it is a relationship that just feels stone cold heterosexual in a way that's just not like fun.
More like obligatory instead of
Feels
something naturally
obligatory.
built.
Where in comparison, Percabeth feels naturally built. It feels like a relationship built on mutual trust and understanding. Um, you just like it. Percy likes and respects her to such an extent that it's very obvious in every page of interaction that they have with each other. I mean, we can joke and call him Supreme Male Wife, but I think that is literally the ingredient that is sometimes missing from ships like Eve x Mark, where it's like, I just want him to be a little bit more of a male wife. I want him to, I want to feel like he likes her. Actually, as a person, that he respects her and is allowing himself to be deferent to her in any way.
I think that always is the best relationship thing for any media, book, TV show, movie. Make the characters outwardly show affection for each other.
Make them show affection, make it seem two-sided. Don't just do boy meets girl, they're cute, they have the bare amount of chemistry, so we're gonna go forward. Like, that's not very compelling, and that's hard to sustain over a long period of time. Reason why a lot of the ships that stay in our cultural consciousness for the longest time are ships that are like, you know, reciprocal. Basically.
What ships do you have off the top of your mind?
I mean, honestly, because this always shows up on my feed, I was thinking of like Roy and Riza as being one that is like very well liked, very popular. You know, for Fullmetal Alchemist. It's also one that is deeply reciprocal. They clearly have a lot of mutual love and understanding for each other. It's very two-sided. And so as a result, a lot of people of a lot of different persuasions get it and are on board with it.
I'm going to be honest, I don't know why, but when you had said a ship that they outwardly like each other, that everyone knows, I don't know why. I don't even care for the ship. Superman x Lois Lane.
Superman, it's absolutely. Are you kidding me? That is another one where it's absolutely reciprocal.
The thing is, I do not really know comics. Yes, it was bound to come up because this talk had specifically come about with two different tangents. First part was initially, though, talking about Annabeth's characterization. Then we had gone into it would have been crappy if, in order to temper their hubris, they did what lesser writers would do. And then we got onto the topic of ships from there.
So you don't have to recap them fully. It's fine. Fuck it, we should have been here.
Oh, you know what? You're right. Screw you, J-Vent. You watch the VOD.
Okay, so Lois Lane and Superman. I'm chomping at the bit. Explain yourself so I can explain myself.
I don't exactly know the ship too well, but from what I do know, I have seen that they overall seem to be quite a happy and accepted ship, which seems to kind of more or less be the criteria we have gone off of here. But again, I don't really know the ship too well. That's literally just what popped up into mind when we talked about it.
Yeah, it's reciprocal. If she feels Lois feels like a character with a deep inner world, they have a mutual love and understanding for her. They're clearly so like deeply, incredibly in love with each other in a lot of the best adaptations. Like so into each
My
other in a way that is
Adventures.
so sweet. My Adventures is one that comes to mind heavily.
That's
And
the one I was thinking of most.
yeah,
And the other animated Superman one.
yeah, and it's just it's so sweet. It's so sweet and cute, and so that's just the energy you need. You just need like a little bit of extra spice. Like that's what the Eve Mark like even Mark has so many of the ingredients for a good ship like this. You know, like Eve is an interesting character who has a really cool backstory. Her special is really nice. I like a lot of her storyline, a lot of her conflict. They definitely do have some chemistry together, but it's missing the spice, it's missing the sauce. It's sauceless. It's
Remember,
sauceless
folks,
at the end of the day.
vanilla is also a flavoring.
It's sauceless at the end of the day. But Percabeth has that sauce. They have that sauce from the beginning, in the way that they intertwine their character arcs, in the way that they manage to write, in the way that in the way that Uncle Rick manages to write her character, and it just
Plus,
all
Uncle Rick. Gone.
it just all works. It all works so well.
Yeah, plus Uncle Rick has done pretty well with the ship bait, I will say. Specifically with the kiss, we kind of brushed over, but we only brushed over because the story did too.
It was just a simple kiss on the cheek. It wasn't considered a big deal. It wasn't really treated as like a reward for something. Percy didn't even really think about it much beyond, oh, that was cool.
He's just like, oh yeah, Annabeth did that. Not gonna give it much more thought because brother, my baby brother, because that's immediately what follows it. He doesn't pay it much mind.
Yeah, and it's kind of why the ship feels very natural.
Natural.
Going, yeah, it feels like a natural development. And so you just kind of like it, just kind of works. And as they get older, of course, more and more gets added onto it, more complexity. But yeah, I'll say it. I mean, if my memory serves me, Uncle Rick has a pretty good track record when it comes to the writing of a lot of romantic relationships in these. It's like a lot of them work well. Contingent upon the first Heroes of Olympus book being good. If I do remember a relationship that was slightly sauceless, it was maybe one from that book in particular, and we'll get to it when we get to it. Give it like half a year.
I don't know. I kind of found the Grover x Polyphemus ship to be terrible.
That was pretty funny. I do love that Bugs Bunny ass. Yeah, J-Bet knows exactly what I'm talking about with Heroes of Olympus. Don't even mention their names yet, but
If you spoil it, I shall strike thee down with the powers of. What did I say my god was supposed to? Hephaestus, that's the one. Yeah.
with a hammer.
Yeah, with the hammer, thank you.
Whack him with the hammer. But yeah, but
Whack.
mhm. I think I remember their names. I've mentioned Jason a couple times, so it involves him. But we'll get there when we get there. The whole Heroes of Olympus series can be kind of contentious. I think some of the books are really good, but I also never finished them. So
we'll have to cross that bridge when we get to it, I guess.
Yeah. So far, we've been very much like, all these books are very good, very fun. Read them, please. This is, of course, my obligatory, like, you know, if you did not listen to us when we said read the first book, please, for the love of God, read these books along with us. Enjoy them. They're good.
I think now is actually an appropriate time to use that as a segue into our thoughts on the books.
Yeah.
I'll go first since I'm the one making the segue. I personally really enjoyed this book as well. Gonna be honest, solid 8 out of 10, just because, like we had discussed before, this was a solid book with fun and little adventures, fun side stories, loved the characters, liked seeing them interact with each other. They really helped redeem Clarissa here, to the point where I was thinking like, oh no, I kind of feel bad for her, specifically with her father interaction, and I'm looking forward to see what will come along more. The gang is now reunited as well. I think that's fun, because, you know, like seeing Grover and Percy being close with each other, that's a pretty good dynamic. I am kind of sad that
that Cyclops man is going to go into the Great Sea. But I mean, Hyson, he's going to be with other Cyclopses. I'm 90% sure he's coming back one way or another. But overall, yeah, I do enjoy it. Fun story, fun parallels if you already know the Odyssey, and if not, you learn more about it. Especially with Annabeth, who's already been kind of the character who gives out exposition of Greek god lore to Percy, is yet again doing that role, but this time she's also taking the active role of being basically Odysseus, and I think that is quite fun.
I'm gonna like actually, did you give a number rating to the first book? I don't think so. So this is an 8 out of 10.
I do not remember.
This is an 8 out of 10. What do you consider the first book then in comparison?
9 out of 10.
9
The
out of
angst
10?
in the beginning of the slow burn really helped bring it up to that 9.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like the 8 out of 10, I agree and disagree. I'm not going to give these number ratings necessarily. I wanted to know just based off of, just which one you like better so far. I feel like the first one, while incredibly strong, incredibly memorable, clearly setting everything up, and just like it's so strong. It's so strong, well written. But I feel like because of that, the second one in your mind will inevitably suffer, since it's mostly just setting up future plots for the most part, and its own self-contained story does not matter in so much. But at the same time, I think its own self-contained story is so good that I feel like it deserves to be like at least as good as the first one, if not a little better in your mind. I think that like a lot of that like this is where Uncle Rick starts to get into the groove of like adapting these myths in like interesting, compelling ways, of directly drawing from specific stories, of teaching kids about these myths in these new fun ways. It comes together so well. And also to bounce off what Jay Bent said here, if you are not reading these books along with us, I have attempted to, for this stream more so than the last one, give summary as we go along in order to better ground the discussion and have it like make more sense as a listener. But I don't think it will ever be my intention to have these be replacements for the books. This is a book club. You are meant to read the books before coming here to these discussions. That is the intention.
This is why my summaries at the start have been rather sparse.
Yeah, that is the intention. We may add more summary or try and be more thorough with our summary as we go along, but we will never ever try to make this a replacement. We wholeheartedly recommend these books. Absolutely. If we ever come across a book that we do not necessarily recommend, we will let you know at the beginning of the stream of that. Like, we don't necessarily recommend the movies, for example. The TV show, we'll get there when we get there. But like, those are mostly going to be funny haha streams that sure, you can watch those without watching the movies if you want. Just laugh at them with us. But these books we want you to read really badly because we love them. It's why we're doing this. It's why we're doing this. I truly love this book.
And for me, who is not a reader, I'm going at this from rather a fresh perspective. I've never read these books before. I myself am not really one to really recreationally read. So the fact that these books are able to catch and hold my attention shows the quality of these books in my personal opinion.
I read this one in like 2 like pretty decent sized binges essentially. Just kind of split it in half. And if you're an adult person with an adult person's reading speed, it should not take you more than like a day or two to read any one of these books. Honestly, these early ones are pretty short.
Absolutely,
especially if you're like me and you're like terminally on AO3 or whatever. it's like these are not long. This is not long at all. This is like it's like what 40k words. It's pretty short. So yeah, you could probably blitz through the whole series honestly pretty quickly as far as the original run anyway. Again, Heroes of Olympus, those books get real thick real fast. And yeah, they're also audible as well. People narrate them on YouTube. If you can get a digital copy, if you can There's like a lot of really pretty physical copies you can
I would
buy.
also like to say support
Library.
your local libraries.
Yeah, support your local library. Like, I want to stay away from supporting people who just like narrate them on YouTube because I want to guide people towards financially supporting these books, which I think are worth financially supporting. Rick Riordan has continued to make books within these series throughout the years. Buying them lets them know that you want more of these, and they're really quite good. This is in a world where Harry Potter is like the most financially lucrative franchise ever, and the writer of that is like one of the most unethical public people I can personally think of right this second.
You sure
Outside of people literally like in charge of our government currently, then like just I couldn't think of a better place to direct your money to instead, to direct your money and time and energy towards these books if you can, maybe instead of getting more Hogwarts merch, give this a try. I don't know,
Listen,
worth
instead
considering.
of being a pothead, why not be an Olympian head or a
Exactly.
half-blood?
It's
What's this
Potterhead, by
fandom's
the
name?
way. Potheads. God.
I'm terrible with these things. Okay,
Potterheads,
I
that's
don't
funny.
even know this fandom's name.
It's just there's no fandom name. It's not like
Make a fandom name, okay? We will be the Odysseus head. Oh wait, no, wrong thing.
fandom.
Wrong thing. We
Not
will
every
be
fandom has a special name.
we just gotta make it more popular so it does.
Call them fucking potheads. No, and again, and like I'm saying this as someone who is well, I do have to just to cover my bases. I do probably have to mention that there is a non-zero chance I will end up doing a Universal trip relatively soonish to the Universal Florida. I'm doing this mostly to check out the How to Train Your Dragon land because I was curious as well to see their take on the Mario World thing. But like I'm not gonna deny that I'm like also not gonna step my foot into whatever new Hogwarts expansion they have or whatever. Like
Listen,
I'm
I
only
do want to
human.
bring this. Plus, I do want to bring up technically, if you just go on the rides or take pictures and stuff like that, you're not financially supporting it.
But
Don't buy a wand.
I will not buy my third one. I bought those before. I bought those before all this happened. I'm sorry. There's no ethical consumption under capitalism, especially not when I keep on fucking getting expensive ass merch at these places. God damn it. I'm mostly I have a whole I'll talk about it more later as the dates start approaching, because I do have my hope is to get a video out because the Go Line video, oh my god, it's actually happening. I have an edit of it finished essentially, and I just have to like I have a bit more. It'll probably next week be done and out actually, and I'll do that before I do the edit for this.
I'm incredibly excited for it.
Me too. I think the audio, it's all coming together well. The green screen turned out well. I'm happy with it. Really, it's just the last stretch at this point of editing. But I have other videos planned. One of them was going to potentially be a I don't want to say takedown of the How to Train Your Dragon live action movie because it isn't out yet. I don't want to make that kind of judgment yet, but I'm also not expecting it to be very good. And I thought
preemptively preparing to rip upon live action remakes that have no point.
Yes. Well, except for the point that it has of promoting the theme park, essentially, of which potentially I will be going to this year. And if I do happen to be going to it, yes, the video will probably be populated with a lot of B-roll of me at the theme park for fun. As well as to like maybe potentially make a point. I don't know. I like that video where Lindsay Ellis takes footage at Disneyland. I want to do that. I want to do that. So I'm gonna try and do that. I'm gonna get out my phone and I'm gonna just be taking B-roll over there and such. And I'm gonna be trying to check out the vibe. And I'm a theme park fan, so I'm probably gonna have a good time. I'm just gonna be real. But yeah, that is a part of my intention here. Um, so I don't know. I just want to lay that out for promo to make sure I'm being ethically honest here. When people
Hmm.
notice in a couple, if someone watches this and then notices about half a year from now that I released a How to Train Your Dragon video where I was clearly at the Universal parks, I'm just letting you know right now. Yeah, yeah, I'm doing that. I'm doing that. It was what can I say? I like theme parks. Um,
Entirely
but
fair.
but yeah, not that I'm gonna become again. I Harry Potter is one of those things that I'm not doing a fucking video on ever.
One of these days, I should also just show you the lore of Epic Mickey. Not sure if you'd care for the game, but the lore would be something interesting for you.
I know some of the lore. I know of the lore. Even if I've never played it. But yeah, I'm at this point I'm just yapping. This discussion is more or less over. We got to I think about the same amount of time as we did last stream,
Would not doubt it.
which hopefully, I mean, I think also the edit will probably be much longer here because I feel like less stuttering. We had more concentrated things to say. I think we're getting good at this. We're getting used to this.
I'm knocking on wood right now.
Hell yeah. But yeah, so we're gonna, VOD's gonna be up on next Friday on at noon
Oh, and
as always.
this is just something I do want to bring up. Not only like, comment, subscribe, but also join the Discord. We are eventually going to try recruiting 7 people, or maybe 4 people, since we already have 3 people in mind, being myself, Lily, and J-Bent, for 7 Deadly Sins, 7 different coaster parks for Planet Coaster 1.
Yeah, if you want to be a friend, like actually join the Discord, start talking with us. We do watch parties over there pretty frequently that, are pretty fun. We're always looking for
Sakamoto
more we're always
Days.
looking for more lads to be there and partake in chaos with. Um or there's heck, this is where I have to also drop my links as well because holy aside from the subscribing over here, I got a Patreon now, I got a Ko-fi now, I got more easy ways to do little donations if you'd like to subscribe not just to this Twitch channel but to me as in enterprise or business, however Patreon works, whatever. If you want to not only support me over here but also support me more broadly with my other YouTube endeavors, if you want to get a commission done, those are the places to go and check out. Also Patreon takes a much smaller cut than Twitch does, so because of that it's like a pretty useful tool there as well. Again, Ko-fi and Patreon, literally, I get more money on the dollar that you give me. So those are good little places to go if you want to support me directly and want these things to happen more frequently. Want me to have my videos out more frequently. Dedicate more time and energy to it. Um, yeah. Basically. So, anything else? Oh yeah, edited version of this will be out in like uh give
Week?
it like give it like 3 weeks. Give it like 3 weeks, not a week. I give
Oh,
it
what?
like 3 weeks. Give it to the
Oh,
middle
okay.
of next month. And if I am doing an edited version of the movie stream, well, we'll get to that when we get to that. But catch us next week. Literally, we're gonna be resuming just next week. Don't have to wait a whole month this time. Don't have to wait a month and change because I was gone for like 2 weeks.
Are we
Next
also going to announce the
week,
Kingdom Hearts thing here?
I'll get there. But first, next week, the movie, the adaptation stream. We're gonna be discussing all of the Percy Jackson adaptations that are currently available. So be there for that. And that's next week, Friday, 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And next week, Wednesday, Mountain Standard Time, 6 p.m. as well. Me and Luck are going to be doing a Kingdom Hearts stream, a series that hopefully will take us through the whole franchise if we can manage to stick with it. But for now, we promise to at least do the first game. And we're going to be sitting there chatting. Me as a Kingdom Hearts veteran, and you who've
A noob.
yeah
I have seen like one lore video, and even then, I don't really remember it too well.
Yeah. So my goal is to indoctrinate him, essentially, to bring him onto our dark side, the side of darkness, quite literally. So yeah.
May I do an art reveal?
I mean, I. Oh, you mean with the? No, we'll save that. No,
Okay, okay.
no. Also, I'm not. It's not even in the right
Too
position
bad,
for that.
no.
So yeah. Kingdom Hearts Patreon that covers everything, right?
Yeah, upcoming projects, plans, and potential things.
Yeah. When in doubt, look at the panels. All the stuff is over there. Yeah. I mean, honestly, the edited version got a good amount of views. So I'm, I, I mean, good amount for us. Like 83. I was hoping to top out at 100. Maybe with this next one,
Oh.
it'll get there.
Oh, oopsie daisy.
Oh, what?
Silent Chaos just said that the permissions are currently set to do not view for all of your support stuff.
Okay. Well, that's fine. I'll just change. I'll switch that around. I think that was just me being overzealous with the support me stuff. Okay. Well, let me just check that out. Thank you for pointing that out. So I will fix that like right away. And for now, if you guys want to actually join us in the Discord right away to watch the Sea of Monsters movie, we can do that right this second, and we can end us out here.
All right. I think I just said it's to everyone is on view now. Perfect.
Oh, perfect. Oh, you did that. Cool. That's why I have mods. I don't have to do that shit anymore. That's why I have mods. I don't have to do anything anymore. Yay!
Well then, I suppose this is the end. Well done, everyone. This is Luck, powering off.
Good night. Wait, no, do you want to say it with me? Do you want to say the thing with me?
Oh, okay. Yes.
3, 2, 1. Good night.
Good night.